The shot that changed everything. The crystalline halls of the Vulcarian Parliament gleamed under twin suns as delegates from 17 species gathered for the annual Neutral Rim Peace Accords. Ambassador Kira Fallon of Velcarus smoothed her iridescent blue scales nervously, watching the human representative with curious fascination. Lieutenant Marcus Webb stood rigid at attention, his dark uniform a stark contrast to the flowing robes and bioluminescent displays of other species. Velcarus had only recently joined the galactic community, their peaceful nature making them ideal mediators. Kira, barely past her first molting, had been chosen for this role precisely because of her empathic abilities and genuine desire for harmony. The humans intrigued her most, these strange bipeds who had appeared from the galaxy's edge just 50 cycles ago, yet commanded respect through sheer determination and an unsettling reputation for absolute loyalty to their allies. The morning sessions proceeded smoothly until the Zephyrian delegate began his inflammatory speech about human expansion. Kira noticed Webb's jaw tighten, but the human remained professionally silent. Then came the lunch recess, and everything changed. The attack began with a pulse grenade that shattered the main viewport. Atmosphere rushed out before emergency barriers slammed down, and in the chaos, masked figures emerged from hidden passages. The Crimson Void, a terrorist organization opposed to human involvement in neutral rim affairs, had infiltrated the summit. Kill the human. Their leader screamed, raising a plasma rifle toward Webb, who was shielding a group of smaller delegates behind an overturned table. Kira saw the weapon's targeting laser center on Webb's chest. Time seemed to slow as her empathic senses flooded with the pure hatred radiating from the assassin. Without conscious thought, she launched herself forward. The plasma bolt meant for Webb struck her center mass, earning through her diplomatic sash and into her torso. The energy weapon's discharge sent waves of agony through her nervous system as she collapsed, her scaled flesh smoking from the wound. Webb's return fire was swift and precise, his sidearm dropping the assassin instantly. But as security forces swarmed the chamber, his attention focused entirely on the wounded Velcarian who had saved his life. "Why?" he whispered, applying pressure to her wound as medics rushed over. Kira's large golden eyes met his, her voice barely audible through the pain. "Because ... it was wrong. You protect others. Someone ... Someone should protect you." As consciousness faded, she didn't see Webb's expression harden into something that would soon shake the galaxy. She didn't know that her simple act of compassion had just triggered the most decisive diplomatic response in human history. The last thing she heard was Webb speaking into his communicator. "Priority Alpha message to Earth Command. One of ours is down. Repeat, one of ours is down." The distinction between human and one of ours would soon become clear to every species in the neutral rim. Earth's response, Admiral Jackson Pierce, stood before the holographic display in Earth's Strategic Command, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical readouts streaming in from the neutral rim. The message from Lieutenant Webb had arrived just hours ago, but Earth's response was already in motion. "How many ships?" asked General Yuki Nakamura, Earth's Secretary of Defense, her voice carrying the weight of barely controlled fury. "The entire 7th Fleet is already en route," Pierce replied. 47 vessels, including the dreadnought Unbreakable. They'll reach Velcarus in 36 hours. "Sir, with respect," interjected Captain Dmitry Volkov, Earth's diplomatic liaison, "this seems like an extreme response to an assassination attempt." The Velcarian wasn't even human. Pierce's eyes went cold. "Captain, that Velcarian took a bullet meant for one of our people. In Earth's book, that makes her family. And we don't negotiate when family is threatened." The room fell silent. Every officer present understood the unwritten law that had driven human expansion across the galaxy. Absolute loyalty to those who showed loyalty to them. It was what made other species simultaneously respect and fear humanity. "What's the status on Ambassador Thalen?" Nakamura asked, critical but stable. "The Velkarian medical team is competent, but they're requesting human military medical support. Apparently, plasma wounds are outside their expertise. They've been a peaceful species for millennia." Pierce nodded grimly. "Deploy the hospital ship Mercy along with the fleet. I want our best trauma surgeons keeping that brave woman alive." He paused, studying the tactical display. "And I want every intelligence asset we have tracking down the Crimson Void cells." This wasn't just an attack on Lieutenant Webb. It was an attack on the principle of mutual protection that keeps the neutral rim stable. News of Earth's response spread through diplomatic channels like wildfire. The Zephyrian High Council, who had been secretly funding the Crimson Void, went into emergency session. The Altarian Trade Consortium began reviewing their security protocols. Even the ancient and powerful Xenocracy took notice when their scouts reported the massive human fleet transitioning through hyperspace. On Velkaris, Prime Minister Jorik. Shao received the transmission from Earth Command with mounting disbelief. "They're sending their entire 7th Fleet? For one wounded diplomat?" His aide, trembling slightly, handed him additional reports. "Sir, they're also requesting permission to establish a permanent defense station in our system. They're calling it protective custody for a person of vital importance to Earth security." Shaul's forearms gestured in agitation. "This is madness." Kira saved a human life out of compassion, not to create some military alliance. But as he watched the news feeds showing human warships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of Velkarian space, Shaul began to understand something. That many species were still learning about humanity. Their gratitude was as terrifying as their vengeance. The gentle, peaceful Velkaris had just become the most protected planet in the neutral rim, whether they wanted it or not. Overwhelming gratitude. The medical bay aboard the human hospital ship Mercy hummed with activity as Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked to stabilize Ambassador Kira Thalen. The Velkarian's physiology was challenging her decentralized nervous system meant. Traditional human medical approaches were useless. "Her cellular regeneration is remarkable," Dr. Rodriguez murmured to her Velkarian counterpart, Dr. Vex Morian. "But the plasma energy disrupted her bioelectric field. We need to restart it manually." Through the viewport, the sleek forms of human warships maintained perfect formation around Velkaris. The planet's 3 moons were now shadowed by defensive platforms being constructed in real time by automated constructor ships. Prime Minister Shaw stood in his office, watching the orbital construction with growing anxiety. His communication console chimed constantly with messages from other neutral rim species, some congratulatory, others deeply concerned. "Minister," his aide announced nervously, "Admiral Pierce is requesting a meeting. He says it's about finalizing protective arrangements." Shaw's head tentacles drooped. In less than 48 hours, his peaceful planet had become the center of a military buildup that dwarfed some sector capitals. "Send him up. And contact the other council members. They need to see this." Admiral Pierce arrived with a small diplomatic contingent, his presence filling the Velkarian council chamber despite his average human stature. The assembled Velkarians, a species that had evolved from herd animals, instinctively clustered together as he approached. "Prime Minister Shaw," Pierce began, his voice formal but carrying undertones of absolute certainty, "I want to personally thank your people for producing someone like Ambassador Thalen. Her actions exemplify the highest ideals of interspecies cooperation. Admiral, we appreciate Earth's concern, but this military presence is overwhelming," Shaw replied carefully. Kira acted as an individual, not as a representative of any alliance. Pierce's expression softened slightly. "With respect, Minister, that's exactly why she's so valuable. She didn't save Lieutenant Webb." because of political calculations or trade agreements. She did it because it was right. That kind of moral courage is exactly what Earth chooses to protect. But 47 warships are the minimum response when someone tries to kill a person. Under Earth's protection, Pierce interrupted. Ambassador Fallon became one of ours the moment she stepped between her officer and that plasma bolt. The question isn't whether we'll protect her. The question is how we'll do it while respecting Valkyrian sovereignty. Dr. Morian's voice came through the chamber's speakers. Minister, the human medical team has stabilized Ambassador Fallon. She's conscious and asking to speak with you. In the medical bay, Kira looked impossibly fragile, surrounded by human technology, her scales pale, but her golden eyes alert. Prime Minister, she whispered, what have I done? Shal took her hand gently. You saved a life, dear one. But it seems you've also changed our world. Through the viewport, more human ships were arriving, not warships this time, but construction. Vessels, hospital ships, and what appeared to be the beginning of a permanent space station. They won't leave, will they? Kira asked, though she already knew the answer. No, Shal admitted. I don't think they will. The price of protection 3 weeks after the attack, the neutral rim's delicate balance was crumbling. In the emergency session of the Interspecies Council, tensions ran higher than anyone had seen since the founding of the Peace Zone. Chancellor Vrek of the Altarian Consortium slammed his crystalline fist on the council table. The humans have effectively militarized an entire system. Their protection of Valkyris violates every treaty we've signed. Beside him, the Zephyrian delegate Korth shifted nervously. The Zephyrians had quietly severed all ties with the Crimson, void after learning of Earth's response, but they still faced suspicion from other species. At the human delegation table, Ambassador Catherine Mills remained calm, despite the accusations flying around her. Chancellor Vrek, the Valkyrian government formally requested our assistance after the terrorist attack. We're providing exactly what they asked for. A permanent battle fleet is assistance? Korth's voice carried the harmonic undertones of barely. Controlled fear. When that fleet is protecting someone who took a bullet for one of ours, yes, Mills replied evenly. Earth doesn't abandon its debts of honor. On Valkyris, the changes were dramatic. Human engineers worked alongside Valkyrian scientists, sharing technology that advanced their civilization by decades and weeks. The orbital defense platforms weren't just military installations. They included research stations, manufacturing facilities, and the most advanced medical center in 3 sectors. Kira, now recovered enough to walk, toured the construction with Lieutenant Webb. Her status had evolved from wounded diplomat to something unprecedented, the first non-human to be officially designated as Earth-protected personnel. I never wanted this, she said quietly, watching human and Valkyrian children playing together in the new international district. I just saw someone in danger. Webb nodded. That's exactly why you deserve this protection. You didn't calculate the political benefits or worry about the consequences. You saw right and wrong, and you chose right. But other species fear us now. They think Valkyris has become Earth's puppet state. Are you? Webb asked directly. Kira considered this. No, your people have been careful to work with our government, not replace it. But the perception, their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Admiral Pierce's voice echoed through the settlement. All personnel to defensive positions. 3 Xenocracy dreadnoughts have just entered the system. The ancient Xenocracy, the galaxy's oldest surviving empire, had finally decided to test Earth's resolve. Their massive ships, each one a kilometer long and bristling with weapons that had conquered star systems, moved deliberately toward VEL Caris. In the Human Command Center, Admiral Pierce studied the tactical display with cold calculation. There, probing our defenses. seeing if we'll back down when faced with superior firepower. Captain Volkov looked up from his console. Sir, they're transmitting. The Xenocracy demands we withdraw from Valkyrian space immediately, or face the consequences. Pierce's smile was sharp and humorless. Transmit our response. Earth does not abandon those under our protection. If they want to test that principle, they're welcome to try. The galaxy was about to learn that human loyalty wasn't just a diplomatic nicety. It was a force of nature that bent entire civilizations to its will. The line drawn in stars, the standoff lasted 72 hours. 3 Xenocracy dreadnoughts faced the human 7th Fleet in the space above Valkyris, while the galaxy held its collective breath. On planets across the neutral rim, species that had never agreed on anything watched the news feeds with fascination and terror. In the human flagship Unbreakable, Admiral Pierce maintained constant communication with Earth Command. The Xenocracy had ruled star systems when humanity was still discovering fire, their technology refined by millennia of conquest. But Pierce had something they didn't understand: absolute certainty in his cause. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander. Sarah Kim reported from the tactical station. The lead Xenocracy vessel is powering weapons. They're targeting our defensive platforms. Let them, Pierce replied calmly. Order all ships to hold position, but prepare for immediate response. They fire first, we finish it. On the Xenocracy flagship Eternal Dominion, War Master Kithik studied the human formations with growing unease. His species had conquered hundreds of worlds through calculated aggression and overwhelming force. But these humans showed no sign of backing down despite being technologically outmatched. War Master, his tactical officer, reported, intelligence suggests the humans have deployed some form of unknown weapon system. Our sensors are detecting energy signatures we cannot identify. Kithik's mandibles clicked in irritation. Unknown. Weapons or not, they cannot match our firepower. Commence bombardment of their orbital installations. The first Xenocracy plasma barrage lit up space like a newborn star. But instead of the expected destruction, something unprecedented happened. The human defensive platforms absorbed the energy, their shields flaring but holding firm. Impossible, Kithik whispered. Pierce's voice came through on all frequencies. War Master Kithik, you've just fired on a person under Earth's protection. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, or we demonstrate why that was a mistake. In those 30 seconds, the galaxy learned the truth about human military doctrine. While other species focused on bigger guns and thicker armor, humanity had spent centuries perfecting one thing: protecting what they valued. The human ships didn't return fire with conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed something the Xenocracy had never encountered: adaptive shield technology that turned enemy fire into additional defensive power, and precision kinetic weapons that bypassed energy shields entirely. The Eternal Dominion shields meant nothing against tungsten rods traveling at near light speed. The ancient dreadnought, ruler of star systems for millennia, was crippled in seconds. This is Admiral Pierce to all Xenocracy vessels, came the transmission. You attacked someone under our protection. Withdraw immediately or join your flagship. The remaining 2 dreadnoughts jumped to hyperspace without firing a shot dot in the aftermath, as rescue ships moved to assist the crippled Xenocracy vessel. Ambassador Mills addressed the Interspecies Council via hologram. Let this be clear to every species in the neutral rim. Earth's protection is not a negotiation. It's a promise. Attack those under our protection and face the consequences. On Valkyris, Kira stood in the hospital where she'd recovered, now treating wounded Xenocracy survivors alongside human and Valkyrian medics. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd taken a bullet to save one life, and now an entire galactic region was reorganizing itself around that single act of compassion. Lieutenant Webb found her there, watching the mixed medical teams work together. Any regrets? He asked. Kira looked out at the orbital platforms, now bustling with ships from dozens of species, who had come to study human defensive technology and request similar protection agreements. I saved one life, she said softly, but I think I may have changed how the galaxy views protection itself. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet, Kira admitted, but for the first time in galactic history, the powerful are protecting the weak, not for profit or territory, but simply because it's right. Maybe that's worth a bullet. Outside the viewport, the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe approved of this new order, where compassion was backed by unbreakable strength. The age of Earth's protection had begun.